Hey everyone, how's it going? This is the Bow Metal Nerd coming at you with another vid. This is part 3 of my, top 50 metal albums in my collection. So happy 50th to metal and happy 5th to me on YouTube. This is going to be number 30 to 21. So let's go ahead and dive into this. And the first one I'm going to show off, the quote bottom of this list. Oh man, the fans of this band, if I put this on the bottom of any list, they're going to be really upset. They're not quite as bad as Beatles fans, but maybe almost as bad. And I do consider myself a fan of this band, but not as fanatical as some folks are about them, that's for sure. And I'm talking about Tool's Enema. As much shit as I just gave Tool fans, I do think Tool is an absolutely fantastic band. And I have actually their entire discography except for Fear Inoculum, because that's like impossible to get pretty much. But, I do quite enjoy Enema, and I think it's a totally great album. So there you go. Moving on. Next on the list is Machine Head's. The Blackening. It's just my favorite Machine Head album. I think it's absolutely great. Lots and lots of stuff going on here. Lots of epic heaviness. Great songwriting. Just everything about this. I just love it. I absolutely think this is definitely my favorite Machine Head album. And Machine Head definitely belongs on this top 50 list, no doubt about it. They are an amazing act. Not so much their last album, or, well, 3 of their albums are a bit questionable, but for the most part, absolutely fantastic band. Essentially, Machine Head to me are kind of like a better version of Pantera overall. Yeah, I know, it's salacious to say, but it's true, I think. So anyway, moving on. Next one I'm going to show off as is this my favorite album by this band? Yeah, I think it is. Even though I only own one album by this band, but I think it is probably my favorite album by this band, and this is Carcass's Surgical Steel. I think it is probably my favorite Carcass album. I mean, everyone's heard it and knows about it. And it's just a totally amazing album. I'm not a fan of Carcass's earlier work, very much. I like them from Heart. I like Heartwork. I even like Swan Song, which I know a lot of people hate, but I like Swan Song. But yeah, this is my favorite Carcass album. So there you go. All right, moving on. Next one is my favorite album by this band, and that is Corrosion of Conformity. I had a hard time picking between this and Deliverance for this list, but I think this album slightly edges out Deliverance for me. It's a little more... They're very similar albums, but this is a little more lively, I guess, a little more groovin', so that's why I made the list instead of Deliverance, but Deliverance almost made the list, so it was a little bit of a battle in my head, but this one ultimately won out. So, moving on, we've got my favorite from this band, Amorphous, Under the Red Cloud. Amorphous has tons and tons of great albums. This is my favorite Amorphous album. I find myself going back to this the most. It's absolutely just mind-bendingly awesome, melodic, somewhat I don't even know if I call them death metal at this point. There's some death metal influences. It's just an absolutely killer album. Moving on, my next one, my favorite album by the next band is Amarth, Deceiver of the Gods. For me, this is just like the album where this is the perfect Amarth album. Absolutely just intense, melodic, awesome slab of death metal here. It's just epic swinging, just incredibly awesome. I love the lyrics. I love everything about this. Moving on. My favorite. I have this band's entire discography, by the way, but this is my favorite album by them, and that is System of a Down's Toxicity. It's chock full of great songs and is absolutely amazing. You don't know what else, you know. If you are, of course, it goes all over the place with its sounds, and if you like a big variety and crazy shit, System of a Down, definitely a band you should listen to. Just by some wild chance you don't, but I'd assume almost everyone watching this is familiar with them. Okay, moving on. Next one, my favorite album. I know this is getting redundant, but at this point, pretty much are my favorite. Well, there's one that might be an exception, but for the most part, these are my favorite albums by said bands. Boom, Gammarays, Somewhere Out in Space. I know this is not everybody's favorite Gamma Ray album, but again, it's just mine. I love it. I love everything about it. The way it just soars, and just the lyrics, the music, just everything. You owe it to yourself to give this thing a listen, just in case you haven't. But if you're a Gamma Ray fan, I'm assuming you know this. All right, so moving on. This album, along with Machine Head and Pantera, really kept the lights on for American metal during the 90s, I think. You know, but and this actually came out in the 90s, unlike the Machine Head album I just showed off. Machine Head really made a big impact with Burn My Eyes, and The More Things Change. I just thought that other album was better, but this one, Fear Factory's Demanufacture, is, in my opinion, Fear Factory's finest hour. They've put out tons of great material. I actually really enjoy most of their discography quite a bit, but they've never quite matched this ever again. You know, most of their stuff is definitely worth having, but this is just a high water mark, and it's just incredible. Okay, so who is number? This would be what? Oh, number, I guess 21 at this point. Yeah. Yeah, so we went from 30. This is number 21. So who is number 21? The top in this group. The top one in this group, of course, is the mighty Saxon with Unleash the Beast. This was my first Saxon album, actually. I don't have many. Again, I only own a couple of their albums. Shame on me. But this is... I just love this. You know, it's absolutely fantastic. I really need to get more Saxon. I love Saxon. But this is an absolutely fantastic release from them. You know, compared to what Maiden was doing at the time, this beats the shit out of what Maiden was doing at the time. Way, way, way better than what. So anyway, it was better than what Priest was doing too, because you know this was released kind of during when Priest and Maiden had the replacement singers, but you know Biff was still rocking with Saxon, so you know there you go. So anyway, that's it for this group. Again, this was tough to order. It was just me looking through my albums and just kind of deciding. Yeah. And then the way I did is I broke these things into stacks of 10 and I just ordered each stack. But anyway, I'll get a little more into the methodology with like the final part of the video of this series. But anyway, that's pretty much it. You guys know what to do. As always, thank you so much for watching. And of course, until tomorrow or whenever, live long and prosper.